Welcome back YouTube, you have Ahmed again from In-Depth Tech Reviews, and here's the morning camera comparison between the Pixel 5, the Pixel 4a and the Pixel 4 XL. All devices are using the latest Gcam version 8.1, so let's see how each camera will perform. But before getting started, let's make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. So let's jump in. Let's start with the landscape category, and here's the first shot. When you take a look at the sky, you will see the Pixel 5 image has the coolest white balance, followed by the Pixel 4a, and the Pixel 4 XL is the warmest. When it comes to exposure, the 4a produced the brightest image, followed by the Pixel 5, and the Pixel 4 XL has the darkest image, and that's why you will see more contrast in the shot compared to the other two phones. And when it comes to colors saturation, I see all of them are exactly the same. Putting the difference in the look aside, let's zoom in to 100% to see the difference in the level of detail and noise. Interestingly, the Pixel 4a produced the most detailed image with the least amount of noise, followed by the Pixel 4 XL, and the Pixel 5 was the worst. The image coming out of the Pixel 5 is very soft. It lacks a lot of details that I can see in the Pixel 4a and the Pixel 4 XL images. Not only this, but I see the Pixel 5 image has more noise compared to the other two phones as well. So I will give the win to the Pixel 4a because it produced the highest level of detail and the least amount of noise, followed by the Pixel 4 XL, and the Pixel 5 was the worst. Now let's take a look at a couple more images to see if the same differences will continue. In this shot, they look identical in terms of white balance, colors, and exposure. So let's zoom in to 100% straight away to see the difference in the details and noise. So if you take a look at the texture in the wood, you will see the 4a produced the highest level of detail, followed by the 4 XL, and the 5 was the worst. It has a very soft image and lacks a lot of details. Once more, the Pixel 4a is the winner, followed by the Pixel 4 XL, and the Pixel 5 comes last. One final image under direct sunlight, and this time the 5 and 4a produced identical results when it comes to exposure, white balance, and colors, but the Pixel 4 XL has the darkest image with more contrast, and that's expected based on the first image we saw in this category. Now let's zoom in to 100%, and for the third time, the Pixel 4a consistently produced the highest level of detail and the least amount of noise, followed by the Pixel 4 XL, and the Pixel 5 has the softest image with the least amount of detail. So overall, the 4a is the winner in this category, followed by the 4 XL, and the 5 comes last. Now I will start a slideshow for the rest of the landscape shots I took for this comparison for you to make up your mind before jumping to the HDR comparison. Now let's talk about the HDR, and I found the same performance coming out of the three phones, no difference here. So let me show you a quick slideshow before jumping to the next category. Now let's talk about the portraits, and in this shot they look identical in terms of colors, exposure, and white balance, but the only difference is in subject isolation. If you take a look at the Pixel 4a, you will see weird artifacts around the subject. However, the Pixel 5 and 4 XL did a lot better and the image looks a lot cleaner. So I will call it a draw between the Pixel 5 and 4 XL, and the Pixel 4a was the worst. Now let's see another one. Once more, they look very similar, but this time I see some minor differences in the white balance and the colors, which is not a big deal, and the subject isolation is equally good across all of them. The major difference here is in the blur effect. When you take a look at the Pixel 4a image, you will see the blur effect is very aggressive and also flat, which means the level of blurriness doesn't change the further you move away from the subject, and that makes the whole portrait look unrealistic. However, the 4 XL and the 5 did better job in the blur effect compared to the 4a. They look more realistic, and you can see different levels of blurriness the further you move away from the subject. But the level of blurriness coming out of the 4 XL is higher than the 5, but both of them did great job and I will call it a draw between the 5 and the 4XL, and the Pixel 4a was the worst. One more portrait, and again they look very similar in terms of colors, exposure and white balance. And once more, when you take a look at the Pixel 4a image, you will see it has the worst subject isolation because it only blurred the lower part of the image and the top part is totally unblurred and everything is in focus. The Pixel 5 and the 4XL did a lot better than the 4a, and they are equally good in subject isolation and in blurring the background. So I will call it a draw between the Pixel 5 and the 4XL, and the Pixel 4a comes last. Now let's play a quick slideshow for all the portraits I took for this comparison before jumping to the next category. Now let's talk about the selfies, and the first difference is in the field of view. The Pixel 4XL has 90 degrees field of view versus 84 degrees only in the other two phones. Putting that aside, the first difference I see is in the exposure. The Pixel 4a has the highest level of exposure, followed by the Pixel 5, and the 4XL has the darkest image with more contrast. The second difference I see is in the colors saturation. So if you take a look at the t-shirt color, you will see the Pixel 5 has more vibrant colors, followed by the Pixel 4a, and the 4XL image looks a bit dull. So it depends on your personal taste which one you like the most, but I think the 4a image looks more eye-catchy because of the higher exposure. I do also like the vibrant colors coming out of the Pixel 5, but the Pixel 4XL photo looks a bit dull and underexposed. Now let's zoom in to see the difference in the level of detail, and if you take a look at my eyebrow and hair, you will see the Pixel 5 image is the most detailed, followed by the Pixel 4XL. The Pixel 4a image is the softest and lacks a lot of details. So I will give the win to the Pixel 5, followed by the 4XL, and the 4a comes third. But if the difference in detail doesn't really matter to you, I think the Pixel 5 and the 4a will be my choice because the Pixel 4XL image is a bit dull and underexposed. Now let's take a look at the selfie portraits, and the same differences we saw in the previous image apply here. The Pixel 5 still has the most saturated colors, the 4a image is the brightest, and the 4XL image is the least vibrant. When it comes to the blur effect, they look exactly the same, but let's zoom in to see the differences in details and subject isolation. When it comes to subject isolation, I think the Pixel 5 was the best because if you take a look at the area around my shoulders, you will see it's a lot cleaner than the other two phones. The 4a and the 4XL has some weird artifacts in the same area, so the win goes to the Pixel 5. Also, if we zoomed in even further and take a look at the level of detail, once more the Pixel 5 image is the most detailed, followed by the 4XL, and the 4a image is the softest with the least amount of detail. So the win goes to the Pixel 5 hands down. Before jumping to the next category, let's give a quick shout out to the video sponsor, Exter. It's the world's largest smart wallet brand. They do innovative designs to improve the way you carry your everyday items. First, you get a dedicated area for your cards, and with the press of a button, you get quick access to all of them at once, which is very convenient. This wallet can be converted to a smart wallet using this very slim tracking device. You can activate and connect the tracker to your smartphone using the app, and by this you can ring the tracker from the app or by using your virtual assistant if you misplaced your wallet. Double-click the tracker button to ring your phone. Use the tracker to take a selfie and get notified if you left your wallet behind. The tracker uses solar power, so you don't need to charge it. Beside the smart features, the wallet looks elegant with a very slim design and it's RFID protected. If you are interested in Exter smart wallets, you can get up to 35% discount on your order in the Christmas and the Cyber Week sale. All the details about the offers and the affiliate link will be in the description below. Now let's get back to the camera comparison. Now let's move on to the zoom category, and here I'm not gonna talk about the differences in colors or white balance, but I will only focus on the level of detail. Plus the Pixel 4XL is the only phone that has a 16 megapixel telephoto lens, so it will definitely produce the highest level of detail. So I will focus mainly on the differences between the 4a and the 5. So now let's zoom in to better spot the differences. I think the Pixel 4a did better than the Pixel 5 because if you take a look at the areas highlighted in red, you will see the 4a image looks cleaner. So definitely the win goes to the 4XL, followed by the 4a, and the Pixel 5 comes third. Here's another 2x zoomed image to see if the same differences we saw in the previous one will apply here, and I think this time the 4a and the 5 did exactly the same, so I will call this one a draw between the two. and the win goes to the Pixel 4 XL. So now let's push it even further and compare a 7x zoomed image. When you take a look at the Pixel 4a image, you will see it did a lot better than the Pixel 5. The building in the Pixel 5 image looks like a big block without any details, while the Pixel 4a image looks very close to the Pixel 4 XL that has a 16 megapixel telephoto lens. So I'm really impressed with the results of the Pixel 4a in the zoom category, but I'm really disappointed from the Pixel 5 because it's newer and it's double the price of the Pixel 4a. So overall the win goes to the Pixel 4 XL in the zoom category because it has a 16 megapixel telephoto lens, but I think the real winner here is the Pixel 4a because it's the cheapest phone and it produced impressive results. Now let's move on to the videos, and before starting the playback you can immediately see the difference in white balance. The Pixel 5 video is a lot warmer than the other two phones. The 4a and the 4 XL share the same cool white balance and they look more realistic to me. The second difference, the Pixel 5 has more saturated colors than the other two phones. And the third difference is in the HDR, and as you see the 4a and the 4 XL blown out the highlights, while the Pixel 5 did a lot better and kept everything well exposed, and that's why I can see more details in the building, the tree and the floor. So now let's start the playback. So now let's pause the video, and after 3 seconds exactly the Pixel 4 XL HDR caught up and everything is well exposed, while the Pixel 4a is still struggling with the highlights and everything is blown out. So let's continue the playback to see when the 4a HDR will catch up. And finally, after 8 seconds, the Pixel 4a has everything well exposed, which is too late. Let's continue the playback. So when it comes to the HDR performance, the Pixel 5 was the best, followed by the 4 XL, and the 4a comes third. One more video in even lighting condition, and as you see the 4a and the 4 XL videos look very similar in terms of white balance and the colors, while the Pixel 5 video has warmer tone and more saturated colors. So now let's compare the video stabilization. All of them support the standard video stabilization mode. However, the Pixel 5 has a new one called Active, which is for heavy movement. So I will start the comparison using the standard, and then I will switch to Active on the Pixel 5 to show you the difference. In this video, I'm running as fast as I can, holding the phone in hand, and as you see, the Pixel 5 video has some weird movements that doesn't exist in the other two phones. It seems like the standard mode is trying to stabilize the video as much as it can, but the results are not impressive. These weird movements don't exist in videos recorded while walking, they only show up when I record videos while running. But also the other two phones are not the best. As you see, there is a jello effect in the videos. However, it's more acceptable than the weird movements of the Pixel 5. So in the standard mode, I think the Pixel 4 XL was the best, followed by the 4a, and the Pixel 5 was the worst. Now let's turn on the active mode on the Pixel 5 and see the difference. As you see with the active mode, the Pixel 5 did a lot better than the other two phones, but the only drawback is the active mode can only record videos at a maximum resolution of 1080p. Before jumping to the next stabilization modes, I found that the weird movements that took place in the Pixel 5 video while using the standard don't exist if the video is set to anything else other than 4K 60. So here's another video using the standard mode at 4K 60 and 4K 30 on the Pixel 5. I'm also running while holding the phone in hand, and as you see, the 4K 30 video is absolutely fine. So it seems like the new 4K 60 needs some optimization with the standard stabilization mode. So I hope Google will either increase the resolution of the active mode or work on the standard mode to make it better. So now let's move on to the cinematic pan videos, and after the release of Gcam version 8.1, now the Pixel 4a and the 4 XL can take cinematic pan videos. It works equally good on all devices, but there is one major difference, which is the resolution. The 4a and the 4 XL can take 1080p cinematic pan videos versus 4K on the Pixel 5. And that's expected because the cinematic pan videos are recorded at 60 frames per second, and neither the Pixel 4 XL nor the 4a can record 4K 60, so the only option is 1080p. So now let me show you some cinematic pan samples side by side. And finally, the locked stabilization mode, and this one is for recording steady zoomed videos, and it makes a big difference. So let me show you how it works. In this video, the zoom is set to 5x, all phones are handheld, and I'm moving the camera the exact same way on all phones, but as you see, the Pixel 5 camera doesn't go anywhere. The camera is locked on the subject no matter how I move it. And from my understanding, the locked and the active stabilization modes both rely on the ultra-wide angle camera, and that's why they are not available for older Pixel models. And it will only unlock when I move the camera extremely away from the subject, and once I stop again for a couple of seconds, it will be locked one more time. And as you see, the results are really impressive. The video is very steady as if I'm using a tripod. Now let's talk about the ultra-wide lens. And as you may know, the other two phones don't have one, so I will show you some photos and videos compared with the main camera, and both are taken with the Pixel 5. The photos taken with both cameras look identical, but there are some differences. First, the field of view is 107 degrees in the ultra-wide. Secondly, the ultra-wide is a 16 megapixel sensor versus 12.2 megapixel main sensor. And finally, the focal length is f2.2 in the ultra-wide versus f1.7. So when I zoom in, I can see more details in the ultra-wide shot because of the 16 megapixel sensor, but the image is a lot more noisy because the ultra-wide lens captures less light than the wide angle due to its higher focal length. Other than this, they look the same, so let me show you a quick slideshow before jumping to the next category. Now let's compare the videos taken with both. I see the ultra-wide video looks better because it has less noise than the one taken with the main camera. It seems like the phone pushes the ISO more than what it should be while using the main sensor, so I think the higher focal length of the ultra-wide sensor compensated the extra ISO set by the phone and resulted in a cleaner video. One more thing worth mentioning, the ultra-wide can shoot videos up to 4K 30, so it doesn't support the 4K 60 like the main camera. So overall, the ultra-wide video has less noise, and the normal videos can be recorded up to 4K 60, so I will call this one a draw, and I hope Google will work on the ISO levels of the main camera. Finally, let's compare the video stabilization, and the ultra-wide doesn't support any of the new modes like the active and the locked, so both videos are taken using the standard mode and set to 4K 30. As expected, the ultra-wide lens will not be impacted by the movement as the normal camera would because of the bigger field of view. So when it comes to video stabilization, the ultra-wide is better unless you record normal videos using the active mode. Now I'm done with my comparison, and I would like to know your opinions, which camera you like the most. Please let me know in the comments below. So I hope you like my video, and if you do, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.